Hey guys, I'm Koko. Welcome to my tutorial for Banished Colonial Charter mod. This is specifically for Colonial Charter mods, so if you're playing on vanilla or with any other mods, this might not work for you. And what I want to do here is to help people to get to their first big milestone, 100 population, and basically when you can get to 100 population and sustain that as a living, breathing city, then you basically know how to play Banished and you will not have problem going forward to glory. So let's begin. This I'm gonna use as my kind of tool to showcase some things. This is my village that I created just for fun, and I believe it took me like 11 in-game years to get to 100 population. Now this is not efficiently built in any way, shape or form. This has only been built just for my fun, and as you can see, thusly I've not been really upgrading buildings or any such thing, but we're gonna talk about those things later on. My starting setting was on Cold Valleys, a medium map, and I was using the Northern Pines map with harsh climate, and the game I believe it was on medium, so nothing too fancy, just a normal standard start that you would as a normal player go for. So as I said, this is not for pros, this is just for starting out. So basically what you should look for first, since you're playing with mods, since you're playing with Colonial Charter, as you should, because it's just such a great mod that you should really be using it, I say first things first, you need to make sure you have food aplenty, that you have, well, first things you need homes, but that's basics, you know how to make homes. Food, firewood, right? And then next thing you're gonna have to take care of after you take care of those two things is enough tools, enough clothes. And after that you go to medicine. So what you should start with, because that's gonna be the most efficient per your worker, is build a bunch of hunting blinds. They're for some reason really amazing. One hunter is gonna work here and is gonna produce up to 1200 meat per year, which is amazing. I mean, duck meat, sure, no one wants to eat it apparently because we have plenty of it, but they do provide you a ton of duck meat. Really a ton, and I cannot stress how much this is useful. You should go with at least 3 right from the start. They are very cheap to build, and if you don't have a start that's going to give you reeds at the start, this reed farm is extremely easy and cheap to build, and it's going to produce you a ton of reeds per year. You can just build one, produce like 100 reeds, build 3 of those duck hunting places, and you're just set to go. You can find the reed farm in the themed sets over here. You can have this docks and buildings for your water area, which I'm gonna go into later on, but these are extremely useful. I cannot stress how much useful these buildings are. So as I said, right from the start, forget about your gatherers, forget about your fishermen, forget about your hunters. Just build 3 hunting cabins, little hunting cabins. Don't build them together, build them a bit separate. You should be starting near water usually, so do that, build them, and you can find them over here. If you go here, there's a duck hunter over here, hunting blind. You need 20 reeds for that and some logs, and reeds you will be making from these farms, because you're going to be using these farms later on as well, so make sure to have that. If you want some more different food, I advise you build a let's see, where is it, water scavenger, which you can find over here in the themed sets as well. This is gonna provide you with a bunch of different foods like oyster, sweet, crayfish, mussels. It's gonna produce around 500 per person, which is still amazing, and it's also give you pearls which you can trade for that. And if you want fish, you can also build a dock fishery, which is usually gonna produce more fish per person than if you build the big fishing dock, which is certainly not amazing. Okay, so now you have food. Now next thing you need, since you're gonna be playing on harsher modes, you're gonna have snow, right? If you don't play on snow maps, you don't really have to care about any firewood right from the start. So if you play on modes that you need fire for, you can go for reed farms. Again, very useful. They're gonna provide a ton of reeds for you, and then you can build very cheaply. Again, these buildings are all extremely cheap. You can go over here, and then you can build a dock workshop, as you can see here, and this ones you can tell them to provide you fire bundles with reeds that are gonna make plenty of fire bundles every year, as much as you need, around 400 or more per person, and they can be used in homes for heating. You will need logs for everything else, basically building houses and everything. You'll always be hurting for logs right from the start, so it's better to use reeds because they're cheap. material, and you can make those fire bundles. So you can use them later on. If you really want to use logs, you can also always make a chopper. That's a wood chopper that's going to provide you with some firewood. It's extremely lightweight, and one worker can work here, and it's not really going to tax you much, and it's very easy to build also. So now that you're done with your food and your firewood, make sure that you always have extra food, that you have population. Make sure that right from the start you start stockpiling food, because later on, if you start losing food, it's gonna start losing food. You're gonna start losing food much faster. But if you have something like Town Hall, which is extremely useful, you can right from the start, because Town Hall is quite expensive. You can build a town arrival for only 20 wood. That's gonna give you all of this overview, but you won't get nomads, and it's not gonna give you happiness, which is great. So you can see your production. You can see right now we produced less food this year than we produced, than we used it, right? So basically, since we are producing 1k less, we still have, since we have a big stockpile, we still have 13 years before I have to fix this. So I have start. So that's why you should really start stockpiling early on. Because if you have, as I said, 3 hunting blinds, you will get way more food that you're gonna use. So you can get a big stockpile right from the start, and that's gonna be extremely useful for you. So you have your food, you have your firewood, all is settled. So what you should do next is look for tools. This should be your third thing, that you look for tools, and you will have enough iron ore lying around the area, so you don't need to pay attention to the iron ore mine yet. So make sure you start making tools, and 1 blacksmith should be good enough. Just make tools out of, just make rough tools. They're gonna be good enough. They're gonna be good enough. Go make them. And after that, you can make a tailor like this. But what I would advise is just make another dock workshop. Since you'll have plenty of reeds and plenty of feathers, since you're gonna have duck hunters, you can make survival coats out of those two. And they're gonna be very cheap to make. And they also trade nicely for 15 each. So you can also make plenty more, and you can trade them later on at the trading posts. As for medicine, usually you don't really need to hurry with that, because all you need is probably a herb gatherer like, where is it? The herbalist. You only need 1 right from the start. It's gonna give you enough herbs, enough healing for everyone. Also, you can use, again, the dock set, and you can go and build yourself over here a herb grower that's gonna grow herbs for you, and then a herb mender that's gonna dispense the medicine around. Also, you should possibly make a proper hospital. Later on, you don't need it from the start, because if you're hit with influenza, then you will need a hospital to heal people. Of course, medicine as well. Now, in this map, I wanted to showcase an important thing that is very important to me early on. Up to 50 population, I'm always gonna be looking at the houses. I'm over 60 now, so I don't really care anymore. But I'm gonna be looking at houses, seeing when a kid is around 8 to 9 years old, I'm gonna be looking if he has any mates around. So if there's a male and female coming of age, I'm gonna pre-build them a house so they can move in and start reproducing at their fertile age of 10, which is, you know, it's a game. I'm gonna say anything about it, but I think that's very important. Of course, always pay attention to your food. If you have your town arrival, at least you can check your production, how much you're producing. If you start dropping, and early on, if you start dropping, you might drop to 0 very fast. So be very patient, and check it all the time. So that's why I always look early on a lot at this. But yeah, always pre-build houses so they can move in right away. They don't have to wait. When you get to people of age and you then start building a house, that's already too late. If you want to move in the world, very fast, and you should at the start, you should really try to pay attention to move fast. Later on, doesn't matter that much. After I get to like 50 population, they will sustain themselves as long as I build enough houses eventually, right? But early on, you would want people to move into new houses when they're 10 years old. Here you can see that I already started slacking off, and I have like 13-year-old here and a couple of 11 years olds, so it's not really a problem. But if you see like you have 2 girls coming of age, you don't really need to build a house if you have a next male at like 5 years old. So you still have some time before you have to do that. Just pay attention to that, and I think it should help you a lot. The next thing I want to talk about is animals and fields. Now fields, Like you can see here, I'm growing cabbage and broccoli. Not very useful. I only have 2 fields here for a variety, and I only added them later on. Also, over here we have standard orchards, not that useful. You will usually not really start with animals, but that's fine. You can trade for them. If you build a trading post, normal trading post, you can get them over here. Or if you can build a special farm supplier, they're gonna just provide you with seeds and animals if you want that. Usually I only end up buying those because those are the ones I want. So what you should look for, animals like Frisian cows over here, they're gonna also give you milk all the time besides going up there. They're gonna give you milk, and you can make cheese out of that, and you can use that in bakery if you have flour. You can make cheese or butter, and then make better breads. Now, for actually making flour, you will need crops like wheat, and you can make that in the windmills over here. You can make that. Also, animals like chicken, they are very fast reproducing, and they're gonna give you a lot of eggs and also feathers if you need them. So chicken are also extremely useful, and if you have only 12 eggs, which should be produced very fast, you can then make dog chick breeders out of 12 eggs and some wood, and those are gonna be providing you with tons of eggs and also chicken meat later on. So that's something to pay attention to, and usually buying 2 chicken is extremely easy to do. Okay, if you buy something like sheep, they're gonna provide you with wool all the time as well, and you can use wool at the weavers, and you can make something useful out of it. You can also trade the coats you can make out of that, or use it for yourself if you want to. But I found out that usually survival coats are all you need. Basically, that's all you should go for. Also, on the talk about crop fields and orchards. Now, I would say if you're buying something, buy something like wheat or corn that you can make flour out of, and that's gonna give you new items that you can make, like in bakery. That's very useful. Like just cabbage and broccoli, not that useful. People are gonna eat it, but you know, who likes broccoli anyway? As for the orchard, here I bought the walnut seeds because I know that I can also make better bread if I can use walnuts, and I can make nut bread. That's gonna be useful for me, and my people are gonna like it. Now, all of these things should easily bring you up to 100 population. You don't really need much more, but if you're gonna want to go advanced a bit more, I would always say make a schoolhouse as soon as possible. You can make a schoolhouse over here, if I can find it actually. Here it is. You can make a small school for just 12 people, and you won't have that many students anyway, right from the start. It's also very cheap. You can make it on the dock, and those workers, sure, you're gonna get them later on, but they're gonna be much more efficient when they're educated. You can also build a water shrine for easy money over here, and that's gonna be giving people some happiness. Now, as I said, if you wanna go a bit more advanced later on, you can build stuff like deer butcher. This is gonna use the venison that you're gonna have from hunters, because eventually you're gonna have your hunter set up, right? Not just hunting ducks, but otherwise other things as well. And if you have other animals, you can do other butchers as well. Now this is gonna provide you with the cuts of the same animal that you have. You're gonna have extra sausages, and you're also gonna get tallow. Now, why would tallow be useful, you say? Well, first things, you can trade it, but I would advise against that. You can use it in the chandlery to make candles. Very cheap source of candles is tallow, and you can get plenty of it just if you have some cows or bisons or even deer. You know, you can butcher them. Now, why would you want candles? Well, you're gonna build a bunch of mines, right? You're gonna build a bunch of mines because you will want iron, you will want coal, you might want salt for salting houses. You will definitely want stone, and you don't want to just go for it. And if you want to increase the size of the mine once it's depleted, you just need some candles and a bunch of wood or whatever, or lumber. So definitely go for that. Also, on the count of lumber, you'll want to build advanced houses, like salt box houses, sooner rather than later. If you're playing in the harsh environment, you'll want those. Since this is just for fun, I built plenty of different houses over here, like even those small tiny shacks, because just I like the way they look. Now you would want, if you want more efficiency, you want something like salt box houses, and also most of the more advanced buildings you need that. And I would say build the lumberyard as soon as possible, but the construction limit at the start will be 1k. Don't go for that. Just go for like 200 lumber. You will not need more, right? Never. You'll never need more at the start. So go for something like that. Now, if you were listening to me and you were building the reed farms and then making the fire bundles out of the reeds, then you should have plenty of those fire bundles. Just increase the size of firewood if you can. Now, you'd say, how do I get some industrial fuel? Because for most buildings more advanced, you'll need industrial fuel. If you're trying to make bricks and stuff like that, you'll need that. Furnace fuel, let's say. So what you can do, you can go for building a more big, efficient furnace maker. But I found out that you don't really need that with that many population. You have a small population, you can just make a small fuel refinery. One person is going to work here, and with just a couple of fire bundles, they're going to produce a ton of furnace fuel for you. You're going to have enough to run like brickworks, where you can make bricks out of clay. Also on that note, you will want bricks if you want to make building supplier, which is gonna also increase the size of new buildings, and you can make advanced new buildings. So do that, make those bricks, and then you can combine them with whatever you want. Bricks, I think, are the most efficient, just because you can make shore houses that are gonna dig you clay. Out of that clay and furnace fuel, you can make bricks. You can also make glass easily out of digging up sand in the same place. So that should be easy enough for you. And then you can just combine that. If you have glass and bricks, sure, you can combine with logs, stone, whatever you have plenty of. Now these are the basics, how to get your population first to 100 population, and after that things should get easier for you. Now I would also say that, you know what, build markets everywhere in strategic locations, and then have a bunch of houses housed around, because people do like their markets and they're gonna go and take their stuff from them. Also, when you build out there that is far away from your city and your homes, drop a shack next to it or a log cabin. That's gonna prevent people to walk too far away from their jobs, and that's gonna also increase their efficiency eventually. So I do hope you enjoyed this small tutorial. It should give you the basics, the easy basics, how to get to your first 100 population, and once you get there, you'll figure it all out on your own, and it should be very easy for you. So thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider dropping a comment down below, share, like, subscribe, and I see more do magic, and I'll see you next time.